Hello everybody, and welcome to Tanuki Token. I'm Lucas, and welcome to my art segment. Today I will be drawing Articuno as part of my Pokemon Art Challenge. So the challenge is to redraw all 151 original Pokemon in this sort of traditional Japanese-inspired style. I've created a randomly generated list to determine the order in which I will do these drawings. The list will be down in the description if you want to check it out. That is the order in which these videos will release. The only rule I have is that I must do each of these drawings in under an hour. That's the only way I can fit all these drawings into my life schedule at the moment, and it helps prevent me from getting burnt out partway through the challenge, because I can just get them all done in short bursts. And with that out of the way, let's get started. So I always like to start out my drawings with this rough sketch phase. It helps me kind of like figure out what I want the drawing to be, so it's really just to get the idea down on paper. So in my last bird Pokemon drawing, which was Pidgeot, I felt like having his wings spread out took up a lot of the image space. As a result, his body looked smaller than I had wanted. So I tried to address that issue here with Articuno by having his wings in this downward position. The only problem, though, was Articuno's tail is longer than I was considering, and so I think I created a similar issue in this drawing, but instead of it being a horizontal space issue, it is now a vertical space issue. I didn't have a lot of time to sit there and rework it, though, so it is what it is. This is my rough cleanup stage. This is where I try to get a better sense of the final product without still stressing out about it looking, perfect. So I am adjusting the proportions of the character. I am, I'm adding in those details that I might have overlooked initially. I don't know why I did not draw the beard feathers in my rough sketch, so I'm adding that in now. And I felt that the wings were just a little too big, so I, shortened them. I readjusted their proportions a little bit. And I'm, sort of locking in the feet. Notice I decided to go with a different pose this time around. And that's because I didn't want it to look exactly the same as my Pidgeot drawing. So I altered the pose here. See, I tried to coil the tail up just a little bit to slightly reduce that vertical space issue I was talking about, but I feel like I should have done it more. Like I said before, I don't have a lot of time with these drawings, though, so I kind of just have to go through with it. I still didn't like how the wings looked, so I went back and tried it again, tried playing around with the posing of it a little bit. Tried to keep the proper proportions intact. Moving on to the final cleanup, I am switching my brush to get this sort of Japanese brushstroke kind of look. Now, since this is my final outline stage, I am much more concerned about the the look of my lines than I was before. So I am going to be more frequently redoing my lines as I draw. So these little gaps I am putting here in the beard feathers are a characteristic of this style. It helps kind of give off the look of like fur or feathers, which obviously in this case would be feathers. Now see how I do it down here as well with the end of the feathers on the legs. Now here I had to redraw the claw a couple of times to make it more visible because the outline was overlapping too much. Notice here on the tail I'm just leaving a couple of gaps through the outline. That's just kind of a characteristic of the style. There's no exact science to it. I just kind of put it wherever I feel like. Now for the wings, they were pretty simple. Having just drawn Pidgeot the day before, I already was familiar with how to draw the wings, so I didn't struggle with it nearly as much as I did in that video. And here I add in the last couple of details, and then I move on to the coloring phase. So for this style, I like to use this sort of watercolor brush. I think it helps bring the look of it together really nicely, but the brush is kind of transparent, so I have to be careful while I'm coloring. Because if I lift my pen up and set it back down, the colors will overlap and it'll darken in those overlapped areas, which is not what I want. And now I need to go around and clean up the outer edges where I went out past the outline. Now I gotta choose a darker shade of blue for the headpiece and the tail, and then color those in. Now I gotta pick this sort of grayish brown color for the feet and beak. Now before I color in the white pieces, I'm going to add the paper texture background. And the reason I am going to do that first is so that when I'm coloring in the little claws with the white, I'll actually be able to see it. Because if I just color the white on top of the white background, I won't be able to see what I'm doing. So remember how I was talking about the brush overlap earlier, and how I didn't want to do that. Now, this is a case where I do want to do that. I want to have this sort of layered coloring effect where the white gets a little bit more intense. And I'm not talking about camping. Get it? Intense. Okay, I'll stop. And to wrap up the look of the drawing, I write out the Pokemon's name in Japanese. So in Japanese, Articuno's name is Frieza, which is the English word freezer, just pronounced in Japanese. Get it? Because he freezes things. Man, it's almost like I wrote these names or something. Anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I guess I will see you guys in the future. We've got plenty more videos coming, so keep an eye out. See ya.